However, we know the customer can be one member of the supply chain or not. So if the customer cannot join the supply chain or cannot create its own EPCI server, how a end client customer to give the query related to the specific RFID tag for the information exchange. Although the member of the supply chain already provide the EPCI server service, we still need to find a way for the end client user to search the corresponding information. So without the EPCIS, the end client user needs the Object Service ONS component for the data exchanging. The Object Service ONS is a lookup service that takes an EPC as input and produce as output the address or URL of an EPCI service designed by the EPC manager of the EPC in question. In other words, based on the Object Service, the end client user just need to provide the EPC numbers for querying. Then the corresponding information will return to the client user, especially the URL of an EPCI service server. So although the Object Service ONS does not enable finding other parties in the supply chain, it proves a very useful for finding with EPC manager. Generally, a manufacturer manages the EPC that is searched for. According to the past courses, we already know each EPC RFID tag will be assigned 3 numbers. 1. EPC manager number. 2nd. The EPC manager defined object class number. And the 3rd is the serial number of the tray item. So although we cannot find the whole members of the supply chain, but based on the EPC RFID tag, at least we can know who assigned the numbers to this RFID tag or to this tray item. EPC manager, because EPC manager number is already included in the RFID tag. So Object Service is a distributed application composed of the root ONS and the local ONS, root Object Service and the local Object Service, as it would not be practical to implement Object Service as one gigabyte directory. So the Object Service is not a centralized technology. The ONS technology or the ONS component is a distributed distributed service consists of the root and the local optional service. It's just like a table of vocabulary for the client user to search the corresponding URL to find the EPCI server of the EPC manager. Since all the EPC manager or company already registered in the EPC Global. So how does the optional service work? There will be the root ONS and the local ONS. So when an EPC Global subscriber wishes to locate an EPCI service, it first consults the root ONS service controlled by the EPC Global. So the root optional service ONS is managed by the EPC Global. The root ONS service identifies the local ONS service of the EPC manager organization for that EPC. So based on the EPC manager number, the root ONS can find the corresponding EPC manager. Then the query will be redirected to the related local ONS, local optional service. So the local optional service will contain the address, for example, service URL of the EPCIs. So the EPC Global subscriber then complete to look up by consulting the local ONS service, which provides the pointers to the EPCI service in question. So we can know the URL about the EPCI server for this specific global trade item number. It's just like a web service. Then redirect again. The query will be pointed or connect to the EPCI server. Then the EPCI contains the data about a specific EPC will be found. In other words, even the client user can use the whole global trade item number, the trade item number, GT numbers, including the EPC manager number, object class number, and the serial number, to find the specific information corresponding to this EPC RFID tag number. So although we cannot find further information in other parties of the supply chain, at least we can find the information from the manufacturer by the EPCI's information exchanging. So when we query optional service with a host name based on the EPC class, the optional service or ONS is a global service operating in a similar way as the yellow page to find the authoritative source of the information. So companies can search this yellow page for EPC numbers that retrieve the URLs pointing to the source, where authoritative information on searched object may be found. In general, the main source of information on the object is the manufacturer EPCI's EPC information service. But the URLs can point to other sources such as website or internet resources. So, if you use object name service, you can find the manufacturer EPCI server, then give you a query for the information searching. But if you only have the RFID tag EPC numbers, you cannot find the distributor, you cannot find the retailer directly, because the EPC RFID tag, this unique ID number, only includes the EPC manager number, object class number, and serial number. So you cannot use this number to find other parties of the supply chain. In other words, you need further information or query via internet resource. Then you can connect it to other parties of the supply chain. So object name service ONS is implemented in a hierarchical design, which depends on the EPC identifier being structured. So this allows the object name service ONS root to resolve the company code such as the GS1 company prefix, while individual companies can operate their own second-tier ONS to resolve particular product lines within their organization. Note that object name service ONS can point to various types of service, including EPCI's product specific web page, general web service, and object name service ONS recode could also point to a relevant discovery service for an object class, although there might be other mechanisms for finding the address of discovery service. We will introduce the discovery service in the future past. In this example, when you search or query the specific object name service by the unique EPC numbers, the EPC global root ONS will find the GTIN number, global trade item number of this trade item. So operated by the very side under contract to the EPC global. So by the global trade item numbers, we can find the registered EPC manager number, which belong to some company. So by the EPC manager number included in the EPC RFID tag, we can find the company. For example, we find this trade item or this RFID tag number is assigned by the company 1. Then we will be redirected or connected to the company 1. Of course, we can use the object class number as the second tier object name service. So this second tier object name service operated in-house or by third-party providers. You will connect it to the corresponding product type or the class of the product. So in this example, we can be redirected or connected to the object class of the product B. Okay, so when we connect to the product V, considering the real situation, one company maybe have many manufacturer or factory in different locations and provide the EPCI service in different maybe countries or factor. So all the information will be used to find the corresponding EPCIS server. However, since there are only one information related to the members of the supply chain, the only one information will be the EPC manager number. So based on the second tier object and service, we can only find the manufacturer, the company, the EPC manager number owner, and connect to the corresponding EPCIs. By this way, we can only find a manufacturer. However, if we can obtain more information, or we can use the EPC as discovery service, then we can find the other third party or other members of the supply chain. And it will be done by the EPCIS discovery service component. We will explain in the future. Here is the example from the RFID tag. The data will be presented as the binary string, only 0 and 1 signal. Then by the RFID reader system and the translation, we covered the binary string to the URI format of the EPC. So we can translate the binary or digital information into the EPC URI format data. So we already know this digital data or binary data is a global trade item numbers used in EPC. Then how can we convert the URI of the EPC to the domain name, to a URL? The first, we should remove the URN EPC and prefix description. So the URN and the EPC file is already removed. We don't need this to fail. Second, we don't need the serial number, because the serial number is the last information to find the specific data. Now we just need to find the URL of the EPCI server. So since every manufacturer needs to establish their EPCI environment, in other words, all the EPC object class numbers should be recorded in the EPCI's repository. Second, this EPCI server will include the EPC manager number for internal or external application search. So we just need to use replace each clone character with a period character. So inverting the order of the remaining period delimit fail. We can use the object class number and first, use the EPC manager number as the second, then use the global trade item number ID and appending by the ONS EPC.com object and service EPC. Then this will be a complete URL as a domain name to find this EPC manager EPCI server. So it will be easy for us to query the object and service to find the URL or the domain name of the EPCI server. So a domain name server DNS lookup is performed to obtain the type of certified records. These are NAPTR records for this address. So we can find the corresponding address of the EPCI server by look up the domain name in the domain name server. So for example, you could select the EPC numbers plus the HTML to find a web page about a specific production. So you can use these EPC numbers and HTML. You can find a specific product by the web browser and from the EPCI server established by the manufacturer. Of course, you cannot find the retailer, the logistic company, the store. You cannot find this information. But however, you can already know the manufacturer of your product. Therefore, the local object name service is simply the local domain name service. So you can understand the object name service just similar to the domain name service. We just want to find the corresponding EPCI server, just like similar to the web server. Okay, so we will need to look up the EPCI by the tag number, cover it as the URL, as the address. So object name service records are simply domain name service records of a particular type. That is type 35 or Napster records, and for address within a specific domain, that is ONSEPC.com, object name service EPC.com. You should append in this domain to indicate you want to find a specific EPCI server. So a local object name service can catch DNS records so that local applications can use the records from the local cache instead of having to query the object name service root each time. In other words, if you can cover the FID tag number, unique ID numbers to the web domain, then we don't need to find the object name service. We just need to look up in a domain name service. We can find the corresponding EPC server. The local ONS may contain this record that resolve for individual product classes within a company.